Hello, guys, and welcome to Paranormal World Investigators Research Division, PWIRD shortened. This is our amazing Saturday company show. Our host is our lovely investigator and researcher, Samuel. Today's topic and company topic is going to be on spiritual warriors, presented by our lovely Samuel. I will be coming up onto the panel several times just to present some of the content that Samuel is wanting for his show. So I hope that you enjoy tonight, guys. Please feel free to ask lots of questions to Samuel, get interacted with him, and I hope that you enjoy the show. And over to you, Samuel. And I'm going to leave, and you go now.
Y'all know. Of course, my name is Sam. I will start off by saying I'll definitely start off by saying I'm doing the show tonight, and also I'm hoping you like it, and I hope it works well for you. Well, first of all, I'm going to start with spiritual warriors by definition. A warrior, by definition, is a person who shows courage, bravery, aggressiveness in certain politics, athletics, in a general sense of life. But I will say that much. Spiritual in certain dictionaries is of relating to the spirit of the soul or even the supernatural and the spiritual way. That deals with the physical nature and approach in life. Don Juan was quoted as by Jack Cornfield in A Path with Heart had said this: only as a spiritual warrior or one can withstand a path of knowledge. A warrior cannot complain or regret anything. His life is an endless challenge, and challenges cannot possibly be good or bad. Challenges are simply challenges. The basic link between an ordinary man and a warrior is that he takes everything as a challenge, while an ordinary man takes everything as a blessing or a curse. There are certain traits that spiritual warriors have in common. Awareness is one of them. The ability of having consciousness during certain situations in life, whether physically or mentally or both. Having knowledge, being awake, knowing the darkness of ignorance. In a general sense, being the mentality of a spiritual warrior is something that has to be desired to some degree, has to be wanted. And also, a spiritual warrior pays attention to themselves, their thought, their speech, their actions, their beliefs. In a general sense, these are things that they require out of themselves in a mental sort of way. This is the things that they require out of themselves in a mental sort of way. They also have to have courage in so many ways. The courage is the willing choice to confront adversity and obstacles that certain parts of life are in front of them. Quality of mind and or spirit enables a person to face difficult pain, etc. Doing this with no fear, knowing the heart as the source of the emotion. One must accept that life is hard, but must find strength to go ahead first into the difficulty and find resolve within oneself. In other words, you could be a warrior and not be someone of violence, but somebody who faces it head on in various different ways. Warriors will find fear in life, beliefs, doubt, and struggles every day, but they confront it and they face it through thick and thin. The warrior will keep fighting even against these struggles. Even in those struggles, the facing defeat, they must press on. Discipline. Acts or inaction to control oneself, to regulate oneself through sheer will or past training. In other words, I guess you can say with the training that somebody has, they must go, say like martial arts training. They have to contort their body, get flexible, get strong, faster, and that sort of way of a discipline, certain kinds of discipline. Then there's also the mental discipline that goes along with it. The action training in the context of the rules of what you're training to be. Activity, exercise, or a regimen, a way of learning, punishment in the way of correction. The ability to restrain oneself uses restraint to prevent impulsive needs and desires. Can also mean to stay on a path. In other words, if you know you are part of something and you want to be part of the bigger whole, then you have to stay as disciplined as you possibly can within those rules and the way that they are not with the way they are or not in those rules. Relentlessness. It's an unwavering, consistent, never compromising of certain values, and can be considered to be staying on the course. In other words, if say like you could be an intellectual warrior in a warrior in the way of the intellect or spiritual. Basically, if you set off to fight to get your like academics, if you take like the fight to be an academic, you study, you put your thought, your mind, you process into it, you stay focused, you stay relentless, you study, you keep up with things. That does help in that sort of way in keeping those attributes going. And like I was saying with discipline, knowing the rules you have to play on, and knowing everything that goes on, you must stay on that course. If you stay on the course, it's not your road to being a spiritual warrior is not guaranteed, but you have more of a chance to staying on it and to becoming something more and being great, becoming something greater than yourself. Cunning. Well, let's talk about cunning for a second. Cunning can be that of meeting one goal, even if it means the low road. It's not always advised, but it can happen. It can also mean through learning an opponent's strengths and weaknesses. In other words, know thy enemy. If you are to take somebody on and everything, and you watch their training, you watch how they play it, so like football players, if they can get the idea of what kind of play they're going to have before they go and play football, then you might be able to anticipate their moves and everything. In other words, you're doing research, I wouldn't say enemy, I would say rival. In other words, you could know their actions before you get ahead of yours. Patience is the capacity of waiting and tolerating certain kind of openings when one is ready to achieve a goal. And this is patience, and allows you to wait, pause, endure, and allow things to happen, and an opportunity to seize a moment that may be needed. I guess you can say whenever it comes to that sort of thing, knowing your enemy, knowing your rival, knowing the patience, waiting for anticipating your target in the best way you can, it does help in many different ways. Basically, like I said, know the enemy. I'll go back to discipline for a second. Staying on the path of what you feel is right and right for you. That's the way of discipline. And relentlessness, in certain ways, like I was saying, normally means you're looking to find that enlightenment within oneself of what you want to do and what you want to become. I'll go back to patience. is the capacity of tolerating situations to find a certain kind of opening when one is open to achieve a goal. Allows you to wait, pause, endure, and allows things to happen until an opportunity to seize the moment that may be needed. Like I said, research. So, like if you have police officers, they will send an undercover person in to take a look at what the person has, what the person doesn't have. And if they're to make a successful bust in that sort of way, it's because they did the research. They know where certain things are hidden, where certain things aren't hidden. And in certain ways, knowing that research on the person can save somebody's life. Sweetness, which is a different sort of thing. I was kind of dumbfounded whenever I found this. Um, Pleasing in the general sense, delightful, pleasant, and thoughtful. In other words, being considerate. Um, Looking for the good in people, being pleasant about it, having a good attitude in a general sense. Being kind to someone, may, many people think that it is weakness, but it isn't. The Dalai Lama said that kindness and sweetness is a huge form of strength. In other words, to some degree, if you go against your rival and you show respect and you show consideration, that is a huge strength. And you never know. It could help you later on in life. You shouldn't do things in life just because you're expecting reward, but to be there for people and be good to people. That's considered to some degree being sweet. Um, Being cruel and vicious is easy, but forgiveness is hard, especially towards someone who has wronged you or wronged the individual. In other words, being good to others, even though they've done you wrong, that shows a high level of class that a lot of people can't really have in life. Um, and that's how it goes. You can also be, in certain ways, it can be shown that with a kind word, a piece of food, or a simple smile can get somebody, uplift somebody. If, say, like somebody's having a tough day or somebody's upset, ask how they're doing. Ask how they're doing. If somebody's done you some wrong, or on the other hand, if you've done somebody wrong, own up to it and think of the good that they have shown you. Think of the sheer good that they've shown you if you've done some wrong or if they've done wrong to you. Being good to people is something that we must all practice to some degree. And at the end of the day, whenever we're good to people, you know you did the right thing. Are you going to get rewarded for it every single time? No, you're not. But it's just something in life I wish more people would accept out of themselves. Love is different in the way of being a spiritual warrior, but it is something that is needed. It's an intense feeling of affection, a great entrance, a pleasure of something, a sentiment, a joy, enjoyment of something. Um, Loving somebody in the way of affection and everything, it shows that it's not uh, protecting somebody is not necessarily a form of weakness. It shows that like if a man loves a woman, he doesn't protect her because he thinks she's weak. He protects her because she's important to him in that sort of way. And at the end of the day, you know you did the right thing and everything. But that person you love, you protect them because they're important. One exists for those, but one may hide it through ignorance, rage, trauma, or even suffering to hide their heart and in their intentions. With love, it can be a fight the darkness of the human heart. It can be take a stone cold monster of a person and turn them into a human being. In my time, I've seen a lot of individuals in my time that were huge, horrible, horrible people, or if you want to call them monsters. Um, those people who were just horrible individuals. They find that love for something or someone, or even themselves, And it can take that vicious monster and turn them into a man and make them realize the mistakes that they've done and try to own up to them. Will people accept you? And will people accept you even if those people have gone back? No, not everyone will, depending on what has happened. But in a general sense, you could say that you've done something right and showing all, and that person becoming a human again. That is what, to some degree, we must all be about. Depending on the individual, a powerful motivator, love can be a hugely powerful motivator, and whenever it's done right and everything. Um, Love can get you up in the morning. Like if you like somebody has a love for their family, they can get up in the morning, get them take a shower, get themselves dressed, have their morning routine, and they can walk for 2 or 3 miles every single day to get to and from work, to pay bills and this and that. It's because they care about the person. And love can motivate you to do some amazing things and get you going in the right direction. And the person may be in pain, the person may be like walking to work every single day may hurt and everything, but it's going to push you to be something more and be something better. And at the end of the day, whenever you're there for your family or your loved ones or whatever, then at the end of the day, you know you did the right thing. And these attributes can make or break a person in the way of being a spiritual warrior. It is beyond that of a person that is a fighter. They're a force of nature to be reckoned with. And those that are spiritual warriors in need of pride, but with it is in need of pride with a sense of humility. That the fights within and shall be within them their entire life. And I guess you can say, all those attributes that I had mentioned, they're not always required, but it does help and it does show certain things about a person and makes them a lot stronger and more and dramatically smarter and stronger. And with all that, like I said, you need pride in this world and you need humility. There are many different kinds of spiritual warriors in this world. Um, what I'm mentioning are different kinds of spiritual warriors, and to some degree, you could say of different continents and different backgrounds and beliefs. You take the Native American braves. They're stereotyped as those that are being normal in a huge ideal of heritage. They have been known to coexist with nature and learn to adapt with the white man and even Europeans. They learn different styles of fighting, and there are different ways of fighting in that sort of way. Uh, I'm just reading from the stuff that's going on. Okay. Well, like I was saying, they're Native American braves. They were masters of horsemanship and very good at riding a horse, bareback. The closest thing they had to modern day equipment was just the thing that goes in the horse's mouth, and the thing was they rode bareback, which can be incredibly hard. They would use cold weapons, which is referred to melee weapons, if you want to call it that. They had tomahawks that were made from stone, and these tomahawks that were made, the way they made those tomahawks were very sharp, but they're made of stone, but very durable. And also, compared to metal, they wouldn't rust. And also, they could be thrown rather diligently to some degree, a huge kill shot from day one. Um, Also, Native American braves would use knives, and they would use knives in fighting. With those knives, they were, like I said, they would sometimes have wood and also stone to them wrapped around, and they were quite efficient. Um, They were quite efficient. Sometimes they would do a style of fighting called dual wielding, using two knives and fighting with those two knives. It would make it could scare the crap out of some people in different ways. Many of them, many Native American braves would make spears and lances. In a general sense, in certain attributes, whenever you're fighting somebody, and you're fighting somebody, maybe even a life or death situation, a spear and a lance could prevent you from getting killed in that sort of way. And I guess you can say also it could keep the person from getting too close to you, and you can get to them because I guess you can say you don't want to get too close to the enemy. What if they're a better fighter than you? And if you can get them from a little bit of a distance, that could save your life and save your life dramatically. Uh, then they would make certain things called gun stock war clubs. They would take certain things from guns and turn it into a club. And whether you want to believe it or not, they're very effective. And a gun stock war club is very effective. If you get somebody in the head, or get somebody in the shoulder, or this or that, you can break something, which makes it a lot harder for them to draw their weapon, or if they do have any weapons, from kicking you or killing you in that sort of way, and making it easier for you to survive. Native Americans also would use slings and bows. The sling, if anybody remembers the story of David and Goliath, a sling is very effective. So effective, it can kill your enemy from a good distance away. And with a bow, which is pretty obvious on that, but with a sling, if you can put a rock into it and you're good with it, you can take out an enemy from a certain mile away. So saving your own life and having to deal with somebody who's a better melee fighter. And melee fighters are those people who are used to fighting close up to somebody. And they would also adapt firearms to making the gun more powerful, better shot, other things like that. And also, back in Colonel Mustard's day, whenever it wasn't a strength in not just numbers, but it was in strength of better weaponry and everything that they had, which Native Americans, whenever they had gotten a Colonel Mustard, they took care of business, and they took care of business well. Well, like I said, they had greater technology, such as Winchesters, bows, and this and that, and they took them down. So, is there any questions so far? Okay. Well, let me get back to reading. We have now the Shaolin monks, which is in Asia. They're considered to be a different form of Buddhism in the way of Zen Buddhism, depending on your point of view. And in certain ways, they've been known to denounce extremes. In other words, extreme ideology, thought process. They wanted to where they have a universal thought, universal thinking that were what they called the middle way. They were against self-indulgence and self-mortification. They're also taught and to teach the concept of self-improvement. In other words, well, like I said, bettering yourself. Whether it's by mental or physical nature, that is what they try to do. Shaolin monks have the idea of becoming something more greater than themselves. They believe in development of mind, body, and spirit. Development that they work so hard for is of hard work, discipline, and constant focus. They're oftentimes feared, but also respected. The compassion they have towards those that are innocent are substantial, whether it comes to giving food to someone in need, or even defending people from whether It is a good giving food to someone in need, even though defending people from harm. Their focus is that of a higher nature and a higher being. Um, the main temples are located in China. Various other Shaolin temples are found throughout the world. Many of those temples that are found around the world are the UK, Japan, Himalayas. Um, I couldn't find anything on the US, but I'm sure there might be some there. And of course, China, which is pretty obvious. They have structures in various different parts of the world, and this includes the US, Canada, Austria, Denmark, Germany, and Ireland, Italy, and many different various other places. They are and they have various types of they train in various types of kung fu, like snake, monkey, rabbit, dragon, tiger, leopard. Um, Many ways added on to it. They fight very well, and they sometimes use animals as, I guess, the motivation to fight in those styles. Like you take like Brandon Lee, God bless his soul. He fought a type of kung fu which was called rabbit. Rabbit is that of evading, speed, and other things like that. Tiger has a lot of strength, so does dragon. Monkey, to some degree, is about movement and taking advantage of the situation. And there's many different other types of those. I do have lists of weapons. I'll have those shown a little bit later, whenever there's time for that. The Shaolin monks also have something called a whip chain. Whip chain, in many ways, is a nasty weapon that can kill you, and that it is very strong, very durable, and can do a lot to someone or something. In other words, if you see somebody that pulls out a whip chain and you're like 3 to 5 feet away from them, best thing to do is run. Then they have something called a monk spade. Monk spade looks like a spade, but is definitely a weapon. The middle of it's like a staff, but also has something that can pin somebody against the wall, cut them. Cut them can be used like a bow, like a bow sort of handle or something like that, and can be used in those ways to kill you, disarm you, fight against you, and things like that. Then you've got the twin hooks. Twin hooks, in a minute, it looks like a really bizarre sword. The twin hooks have that sort of thing where it's got a hook on the end, and it also has something at the handle that you can fight with. At the handle, you can fight with, I guess you can say, like a piercing brass knuckles sort of thing. With those brass knuckles, it's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt relentlessly, and it's going to hurt pretty bad. With those brass knuckles and the whole thing, it can tear out your shoulder, it can tear out your abdomen, and other things like that. Whenever somebody uses them, and they know how to use them, best thing to do, at least in my opinion, is run. Then you've got the Kung Fu Dao. I think that's what's name. It's like that of a staff, but with a very long. It's a spear, but think about this. It's a spear with a nasty head on it that can do rather good damage and do that sort of way. But like I said, with it can do some damage, but whenever it comes to spiritual warriors and spiritual fighting type styles, sometimes it's needed to get the job done to save your own life. This one's a little bit different. This comes from most of Europe, European knights. European knights can come from a well-to-do lineage. It can come from these ones: royalty, nobility, even the merchant class during the feudal days of Europe. They have certain attributes that are considered to be needed there are certain attributes that you need to have whenever it comes to being a knight. You need strength and skill in order to use your weapon, courage, integrity, loyalty, generosity, humility. I guess in these times, um, we should all expect that out of ourselves to begin with. But some people can and some people don't. But for the most part, those things that I just mentioned are things that knights were supposed to have from day one. And it was the thought process of all that were those three parts of the lineage: the royalty, nobility, merchant class. And with the and those six attributes that I mentioned are things that you have to have through thick and thin. An apprenticeship or training was considered to be necessary and was also called a squire, and the person who was doing it was considered to be a squire, especially in the mindset of that potential knight. Chivalry was to be that of common court. It was above and beyond anything. You had to have some amount of chivalry. And that was a huge requirement, whether it was taught or you already knew it. You had to adhere to command and of God. You must adhere to the command of God's will. In European days, medieval Europe, they were taught and told and trained to uphold God's will, the royalty, nobility, and to God's will through thick and thin, above and beyond anything else. In the European days, you had to adhere to God through thick and thin. It didn't matter who you were, but with a knight, like I said before, it was one of the other common cores that you had to have. They shouldn't be able. A knight was not to fear evil in any sort of way. They were taught in many ways to defend, to fight against evil, even if it meant their life. And there was many knights that fell because of what they believed in, what they were trained in, and what they believed in. And at the end of the day, knights were respected because of those common core attributes. And because of those common core attributes that they were looked at as a necessity to save someone's life or to defend the weak, to help those that are in need through thick and thin. The standards of a knight's behavior was to that of be of a higher obligation. And like I said earlier, though, the lineage of royalty, nobility, and merchant class, they were taught to respect those and also God's will. And those were the higher obligations. But they were taught also to help and respect the people and help the people. If some, I guess you can say, some people that were attacking a small village, and those knights would oftentimes defend those people through those times. And with them defending them, that's why they were looked up so highly, especially by the peasants and the serfs. And so with saying all that, they may, oftentimes that's what happened. And that's how it went. The training of a knight, training of a knight was huge and important with all weapons and as many armors and weapons can have. The physical training of what a knight had to do was normally done with heavy armor. If you ever go to some place, depending on your geography, if you go someplace with heavy armor, you're going to know what a suit. You're not going to know what a suit of armor looks like. Normally, it's a metal type encasement of certain parts of the body that gives some amount of flexibility. But with all that armor, it also is very heavy. The heaviness of that armor could slow somebody down. In other words, if they're on foot and they would be walking, and that walking would drain them. With that heavy armor added onto it, riding a horse could be difficult because you don't know what can happen to that horse while you're wearing that armor. It was a lot of weight, and you had to really stick to it. The knight was also had to wear the knight had to wear this armor while on a lance while riding horseback. A lance is a very, very long spear. Um, it's got some amount of hand coverage. So with it having some amount of that hand coverage, it did rather well. It would do rather well in protecting the hand, but not everything else. But like I said, uh, the hand was something that you needed to protect as much as humanly possible. Because how can you fight if you've lost both your hands, or at least your main weapon hand? Maces were trained with and used on the battlefields to exploit certain armors that had certain weaknesses. A mace could be it could be about the ball of it was about the size of a softball with spikes on it. And also it had a handle which was, I guess you can say, extremely heavy. But with that heaviness and the shot, and if somebody performed the strike, then guess what? Yeah, that was the kill shot, and that was the effectiveness of the mace. Now, if somebody was to get it in the body, whenever somebody had the body, so like if you got hit in the shoulder, here or here, that person might go down and might go down hard because they cannot use the weapon so well, and that weapon that the other person has can kill you. So it's either kill or be killed. Axes were used to do damage that were of quick and substantial. Basically, in a certain way, it's an easy kill. So, say like if a person has, I guess you could say, leather armor to some degree, and you have an axe, that axe can potentially go through that armor and go through it quick. So, whenever when the axe was used, it could get past it and destroy that armor, and destroy the armor quite brutally. And axes came in various different sizes. They came in different shapes. They came in different sorts of ways. But for the most part, not always, but for the most part, those axes were one-handed. They could have two, but there was no shield whenever you had a two-weapon axe. So whenever that axe, if you have your axe in this hand, the right hand, and the shield in this, you can get some amount of protection. But whenever you have both hands and you're coming at somebody with an axe, you have more of a chance of staying alive, because you would do a kill shot and get the fight over and done with as quickly as you possibly could. I guess you could say, to a certain extent, to summarize all this, the reality of combat with spiritual warriors varied from place to place, continent to continent. Many of them had different ideas and different attributes that made them, or makes of them, feeling like they're of a higher calling. The attributes of a spiritual warrior has and does vary from warrior to warrior, and even in their own culture. Awareness, courage, discipline, relentlessness, cunning, patience, sweetness, and love. Native Americans are that of being one with nature, but being that of mankind also. Shaolin monks wish to be more or something better through mental and physical discipline while retaining a sense of humility. Shaolin monks are those that believe in adaptation and movement and adaptation in their style of fighting. They know ways of fighting, whether with or without a weapon, and they're very good at it. Whenever it came to Native American braves, like I said, they were one with nature and one with man. Medieval knights had a calling that was to their God and to the ways to defend what they know and believe of what was in their heart. No matter what road a spiritual warrior is to have, no matter what the highs or lows there are, they all must be true to themselves. Many ways, spiritual warriors are that, like I said, of a higher calling. It, I think it was the Dalai Lama who said this. In life, you have to be what you feel like you are. In other words, if you feel like you're a Buddhist, you must be a Buddhist. If you feel like you are somebody that's a Christian, you must be a Christian. If you are somebody who, and concluding all that, if you are a warrior, you must be a warrior. There are, like I was saying earlier, with warriors, there are different types of them, but they all have those certain common core things. They answer that calling. Not necessarily because of combat, because for them individually, it's what they think and what they must do in their own mind and their own mindset. So at the end of the day, to thy own self be true. And so, are there any questions? Well, so is there any questions for anybody here? Well, sure. Well, PWI, anyone can. How can you become a warrior? One of the ways of becoming a warrior is in an easy sort of way is finding your calling and sticking to your calling. There's oftentimes, I guess you could say, whenever there is times in life where you must pick up an armament or find something that you can have. Whether it's armor or weapons or this or that, then you must pick it up and you must fight for what you believe in. There's more than one way of being a warrior. I'll be honest with you on the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama is somebody who is one of the most respected world leaders through anything. He's faced his country being taken over. He has faced the deaths of family, friends. He's done a lot. He's made a difference and everything. One day he's going to be gone. But he's done so much in so many ways without even lifting up a finger to hurt somebody. Take Gandhi. Gandhi, I guess you can say, is a warrior. And he humiliated the British Empire in a way of doing things through a nonviolent way. He showed a lot in his time on what somebody can do whenever they have no real want or desire to hurt anyone. So whenever you're taking a look at the Dalai Lama or Gandhi, they're warriors that were nonviolent, and that's very, very hard to find, but it is possible. What else can I say? The pacifist is kind of a warrior who does not believe in violence, but somebody who can defend themselves in a verbally sort of way and in verbally sorts of ways and do a good job at it. It doesn't always mean you have to pick up a weapon. Then there are those people who believe in fighting for their country, the U.S. soldier, for example. You can call them a spiritual warrior because they believe something of higher state of being, in which they believe in many different ways that they must defend their country, their family, their heritage. And for them, they do what they feel is right in protecting people. What else can I think? I guess you can say you can fight for yourself. Yes, Hatchie. You can fight for yourself in the way of defense. But for the most part, going looking for a fight is not necessarily a good idea. But to defend somebody or even defend yourself, we all have, and yes, Nader, we all have that responsibility to do what we feel is right, to fight things for what we believe in, and it doesn't involve the sword all the time. Uh, a Knight Templar back, and thank you, Nader. A Knight Templar was a group of knights that went to what I think was Israel, and they were a very concentrated group of individuals that, in theory, they had made it rich and their numbers grew. But the thing was, is that they made it rich, and in theory, they found money, and they found a lot of money, and they became people that order of knights that were very rich and prominent. And they became very rich and very prominent. But after a while, unfortunately, at least, like I said, from what I've read in my time, the Knights Templar became corrupt because of all the power that they had. And with all that, what can I say? With all that, the Knights Templar were taken out by, I think, the King of France at the time. I cannot remember his name. But he was taken down, and like I said, they became corrupt, and they lost focus of what they were and what they were about. And that's what happened with the Knights Templar. I'm just looking for more questions. And yes, Nader, we do love our family members, and we love our family members very much. And what else is there? Anybody else have any other questions? Well, I do have some pictures I was going to show you. I'm going to try and show you some pictures a little bit distant. Oh, and
Hello.
Hey.
Right, carry on saying what you're saying, Samuel, and then when you're ready, I'll present the pictures and stuff that you're wanting.
Well, and what I was saying, in many ways, a spiritual warrior, in essence, is somebody who has the thought and the word. I guess you can say the right thought and the right way of defending and exploring and bettering yourself. In other words, facing adversity, facing challenges, and facing adversity, whether it's on a personal level or a greater noble level. You become what you feel you are. And sometimes in life, whether you want to admit it or not, sometimes in life you're going to have to fight for what you feel is right and what you feel is responsible.
Okay, we will put this to full screen. This is some of the content that Samuel wanted to show, and it's got pictures and stuff in it. So here you've got some of the tools.
Well, the top one is the tomahawk. Like I was saying, it had a stone blade to it. Normally had a wooden or bone handle to it, but like I said, it was very effective in defending people on what they had and what they didn't have. The one that you see below that is, I think it's bone, and it had somewhat of a stone. That style was mainly meant for piercing, not slashing. But it could go into a person and go into a person dramatically. And if you're fighting for your life, there's not too much things better than having a knife. Then you had spears and lances, and then you also had a gunstock weapon, a gunstock war club. And it looked like a club, but it also had a blade, it had this and it had that, which was very effective. And if you ever see Laughs of the Mohicans, they had a Gunstock War Club on that. And Shuri is showing the slings that I was talking about. And normally with the slings back in those days, and still are, they're very effective if you're trying to fight somebody from a distance. So with the distance that you have from with the sling, that rock hits you and it hits you hard enough, you're going down hard. Now, these are the Shaolin monks. Shaolin monks, like I was saying, can do such wonders with their bodies, from giving killing blows, which is fingers, to balance, to from taking certain kinds of physical abuse in certain ways, such as a fight or even a weapon. They can substantiate themselves in various different ways. This next picture is that of a Shaolin temple. A Shaolin temple, in certain ways, I guess you can say, is that of something that is the place, well, of course, it's the place where you train at to do that. To becoming a Shaolin monk, it can take you years or even decades for some people to, I guess you can say, graduate. You can take it and graduate and become something in that temple that is more and beyond than what you would have ever thought, whether it's physically or mentally. This right here is the metal whip chain, which it can be very long. That thing that thing can hurt you and or kill you if it wraps around your neck or this or that. You could lose your head or or a very important appendage, such as your leg or even your arm. It can possibly impale you. It can possibly impale you, and it's going to hurt. The Shaolin monk spade, as you're seeing right there, holding by a Shaolin monk, is the original thought was of gardening in that different sort of way. But you have to remember that thing can pin you up against the wall, pin your arm, pin your leg, or even pin your waist up, and it's going to hurt. The other side's got a part of it that hurts like heck too. But in many ways, the Shaolin spade, monk spade, is that of something that will, at least with the Shaolin monks, not always, but to some degree, give some kind of mercy to somebody. In other words, pin your arm up against the wall before they hurt you, and preventing you from reaching your weapon. Then you've got the twin hooks, like you're seeing right there. If you do see those, they're very, very, if not extremely effective on disarming somebody. And you see part of the handle down there. That can also block certain kinds of attacks. It can prevent somebody from hurting you. In other words, it's a weapon that is of different sorts, a different sort of breed in that sort of way. And it can disarm you, it can hurt you, it can rip off your shoulder, it can bludgeon you half to death. It can also be used in defense it can be used in defense to keep you from getting hurt. This is the Kung Fu Pu Dao. It's a very long spear with a very long blade. It's like the blade is something I guess you call a short sword. A short sword is something that is in between a knife and it's also longer. It's shorter than a sword. But the thing is, that thing is very long, that pike or spear can do some damage with a curved handle, making it easier to slice. And it can kill you, and if the person knows how to do it, it can kill you very easily. The European Knights. This one is that of the one that you're seeing is that of a suit of armor, which that suit of armor is something that, like I was saying, was very heavy. It wasn't just 50 pounds. You could go from 125 to 300 pounds, at least American wise, it can weigh you down and weigh you down dramatically. And that's why, in many ways, during that day and time, they would make people just wear that alone. So that way they can master the movement of what that suit of armor can allow. And there are certain points for joints and all that other stuff. So that way you can move your shoulder, move your arm at the elbow, move your legs. But the mobility was lessened, but it's going to be a lot harder to get a kill shot on you whenever you're wearing that. That long pole, that's a lance. If you notice at the handle, there's sort of a guard to it. It helps with protecting the hand that you're trying to lance the person with. And the tip is something that's very sharp, can be very sharp, and can either, depending on what the person wanted, can bludgeon you, or it can run you through. And not everybody died from the lance immediately, but a lot of people died from infection whenever it went into the body. Next one you're seeing is the mace. The mace is a kill shot weapon. The kill shot weapon is that it's kind of heavy. You can use it with one hand, but it's very heavy, and it was oftentimes spiked. And in other words, the size of a softball, like I was saying. The handle could be wrapped up with some kind of cord or leather or something like that to give it a little bit of an easier hold onto the person. So if you got hit, you're going to know it, and you're going to know it hard on how hard that thing hits. And even if you survive the hit of a lance and everything, not a lance, but a mace, you can get an infection or this or that, or you can even bleed out from that. Like I said, a mace was that of something that was of, I guess you can say the mace was that something made of nightmares. And even if you survive it, there's the potential you could die from it, and die from it hard. Like I said, infection, paralysis, breaking bones, all sorts of other things that could go along with the mace. Then you have the axe. The axe could be something that is of two hands or one hand. But if you're fighting to stay alive, unfortunately, you have to be diligent on the way of taking. You have to be diligent on certain things. With the axe, whenever you go for a kill, and it's going to cut you, it can break your arm, can break this, it can break that. Also, the handle of the axe, the actual part that you hold, could be used as a weapon too. So say like if you hit somebody with the base of the handle, it's going to hurt them, and then you swing it, you're going to possibly chop an arm off or run them through or this or that. It's a nasty weapon, but it was quite effective. And you can hold it with one hand or two hands. So, has anybody else got any questions? I would love to hear from you. Hello, Smith family. And then there were shield breakers. That was definitely a good one. Those were like pole arms and everything, but they normally had a decorative design on it. In other words, if you hit something, it could destroy somebody's face, but if you hit the person with the shield, it could disarm that. It could potentially disarm that person of the shield. In other words, that shield could rip that shield breaker could rip it off and go for a kill in itself. And it was quite effective. What else? We normally all do. We definitely do. Then we have, I guess you could say, whenever it came to a club, we still have that design, and it's called a baseball bat. A baseball bat was originally meant to be as a club, but it was played with the sport. But that's how it went with the axe and all that other stuff. A baseball bat is basically a club, and an axe is a very good weapon that can save your life and put the fear of God in somebody if they break into your house. Uh, um, I gotta let you go for a second, just 1 second.
Hello, guys. How are you? Sammy will be back with you in a minute. So, how are you finding the conversation and the show so far? So, we are talking about spiritual warriors. We've been talking about different tools and weapons that they would use. And we've been running a commentary over what different spiritual warriors do and what they could be linked to. So, I hope that you're enjoying. If there's any more questions, please put in the room, guys. Back to Samuel.
Thank you, Sherry. Well, whenever it came to, it was more than just the weapons that make. It's more than just weapons that make somebody a warrior. It's more than armor that makes somebody a warrior. It's the mentality of somebody and doing what they feel is right, whether it's right for them, right for their deity, whether it's right for their mindset, their neighborhood. It was about the individual answering the calling and answering the calling in the way that they feel like they think, in the way they feel like they are meant to answer it. Whenever you have that, whenever it came to that, it was over the top, the mindset of mindsets that went into being a warrior. With it being the mindset of being a warrior, doing, like I said, it's doing what you're supposed to do and doing what you feel is right. Other sorts of things I can think of right now is you've got the South Americans, say like the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Toltecs. With all that, they had many people thought they were barbarians. They were not barbarians by any means. Yes, there are some things that a lot of people of us would look down on, like sacrifices. But at the same time, who in the heck are we to sit there and judge them for anything? But like the Mayans, they had calendars that were way more advanced during their day and time and everything, and that were way more advanced. A lot of their technologies were more advanced on the way of a calendar and this and that. Then we have many of the Egyptians. They came up with some very, very substantially original stuff that went on from having guards and armor. And then you have societies that were of a writing sort of nature. They invented the spoke wheel. But in their common core, like I said, in their common core, they are people that these people know the risk whenever it comes to being a spiritual warrior. They know the risk of what it could cost them and may cost them in their life. And you have to remember, what one person does, what they feel is wrong, may be something what they feel is right. You also have the samurai of Japan. And the samurai arguably made probably one of the finest swords ever, called the katana. But they were about defending. Whether it was the emperor of Japan or the shogun or this or that, feudalistic times. And they were very good at defending people and defending themselves. And they were relentless about it in the way of defending others. They like I said, the Japanese made all that. And they have a faith called Shintoism. Shintoism, in many ways, is that of the royal family, their version of the royal family, in protecting them and doing this. And and also exorcising demons, both good and bad. Yeah, that's very true, Nader. Like I said, can we talk about a little bit about the farmer's weapon patchwork, which in the armor era was very effective at first. People rejected to use it as a weapon, though it's a peasant tool, but better used. That makes so much freaking sense. Armor can be used as a weapon, and like if you get hit in the face with something metal, it hurts. But say like a gauntlet of European design, a gauntlet could at the least knock you out and break your bones if you get hit with, like with a fisting motion in the face. It could do that. Whenever it came to things like leather armor could possibly defend against some slashes, some amount of piercing, some amount of slashings. Then there was padded armor. Padded armor was armor that had pads on it, like quilted sort of stuff. And that quilted could potentially prevent, say, like a hammer from hitting you and harming you in a greater sort of design. That armor, that they had, that kind of armor, could be used in patchwork and this and that. Sort of like a hardcore pillow that's wrapped around your body, preventing bashing type damage. Uh, uh, and another thing, not just, but Vikings were people that lived for conquest. But they're about conquest. They believed that the only way they can go to Valhalla, which is their version of heaven, was that of conquest and fighting until they die. Um, and still, some people still back in earlier days, they secretly worship the Norse gods, which was that of the Norse gods, such as Odin, Thor, and some people would even support, what do you call it, Loki. And they had some of the most interesting names that went on. Ragnarok was the beginning of the end, where it was supposedly to happen. And but hey, Ghost, how you doing today? But like I said, it did a very good job. Um, but sorry, I'm just reading what you wrote, Nader. You definitely are smart. But back in certain days, some of the first rifles were the flint stocks. With the flint stocks, could kill somebody from a definite distance away, and they were very good at it. And many types of Eastern sort of cultures were very good at it. And also many of the Japanese and Chinese and other faiths that I can't think of immediately. They were people that believed in combat where it's an equal opportunity. In other words, in certain ways, no matter who it was that they killed or were killed by, they were to show honor by giving everything that they ever had to anybody. It's not necessarily it is historical sorts of things and other things like that hatching. Um, historical. But like I was saying, especially in Asian cultures, one of the things is what they believed in whenever it came to fighting on a greater level, a more spiritual level. They believed in giving everything that they had in a fight. Every single bit of what they had that went into a fight, they gave it their all. They didn't hold back or anything. And that's considered true honor. It's over the top, true honor to sit there Like I said, it's true honor to sit there and give everything you have. And if you're holding back when you're fighting somebody, it's not just the Asian cultures, but cultures altogether. Fighting, like I said, whenever you fight, you give it your all. And if you don't give it your all, that's disrespectful as anything. Holding back, and also in a more common sense sort of way, holding back whenever you go to fight somebody, it will get you killed at some point. Because if you're underestimating your enemy, well, that's what could happen. You're at some point holding back all the time will get you killed. And also, but that's how it goes. But like I said, that's how it goes. What else? But like I said, whenever it comes to swords, fighting, this or that, that's just how it went. Um, Very true, Hatching. Um, yeah, they definitely did work under the Bushido Code and everything. But like I said, and also added on to that, you had the kamikazes during World War II that, like I said, they believed in doing what they were right, what they felt was right. And whenever they did what they felt was right, was that of giving everything they had, even their lives. And many of them knew that they wouldn't make it home, but they believed in what the emperor was doing, and so they fought and died for an ideal and certain ideals to do what they felt was right. And it is human instincts to develop weapons. Yes, Nader. Uh, it is human nature to believe in that and do all that. And in many ways, if we don't, we have to have the mindset to some degree is that we have to have the mindset of being willing to do what it takes to defend ourselves. And that's kind of a spiritual calling in itself. You take like a mother or a father that are defending their children, defending their significant others, defending what you feel is right and defending what you feel is important. That's kind of a spiritual warrior aspect in itself. So say like somebody breaks into your home, when somebody breaks into your home and everything, giving everything you got to preserving what you feel is important. If that doesn't say spiritual warrior, I don't know what does. But there are different sorts of weapons out there, and the weapons that I refer to are just very few in the many that went on to it, that went on to that sort of thing, defending oneself. But like I said, whenever it comes to warriors, spiritual warriors, it's more of a higher thought, more of a higher existence, more of a higher thought, more of a higher existence to believe in that sort of thing. Like take like a mother. Yes, you're definitely right, Hatching. There, and you're definitely right. But like I said, with everything that they all did, it felt like they were doing the right thing. And the one thing I will never discredit, some things I may not like or may not appreciate, but I will always try to show respect in different ways whenever it comes to showing different ways of respect is fighting for what you believe in and fighting for what you believe in through thick and thin. If that doesn't scream spiritual warrior, I don't know what does. And those attributes I was mentioning earlier, are very important and in many ways very knowledgeable, very important to having those things. It's not always going to happen the way we want things to happen, but it does go along with all that. Well, like I was saying earlier on the issue of cunning, cunning that can be that of meeting one's goals, even if it means taking the low road. It can also mean also go through learning the opponent's strengths and the weaknesses. Uh, Also, I didn't mention this. I just noticed it. One of the things of cunning is if somebody entrusts you with a certain secret, if somebody trusts you with a certain secret, then you have to hold that. And if they say something to you about things, and I've been guilty of this myself, but if somebody tells you something, you have to do whatever you can to keep that word or to keep what they said to yourself. And if somebody, and I respect that, even if it means losing somebody because you don't agree with, if you lose somebody or something, and like a friendship because you're keeping your word, then that might have to be how it is. Whenever added on to it, whenever you use training and focus to, well, I guess you could say whenever you have gut instinct that goes into your training, that's very effective in meeting your goals. Another thing also, whenever it comes to patience, whenever it comes whenever it comes to patience, you have to wait for your opening. Like another a style of martial arts, which we all know this, it's called boxing. Boxing, boxing, you have to take a look. You have to take a look at boxing, and you have to know where the person is, where their weak points, where their strengths are, and measure them up in the best way you can by discipline, and also by doing your research on the person. But whenever it comes to war nowadays, war today is a lot different than what it was. Um, some people have certain orders that they have to do, they have to put up with, and have to uh, uh, deal with in various different ways. We all have to deal with those sorts of things in life, and there's no getting around it. And that's how it goes. But like I said, does anybody else have any more questions by chance? I mean, but is there anybody who has more questions on the subjects I talked about in the report that I did? I'm going to finish up this. I'm going to finish up this. I'll see if I do. Um, I will be back online. Just give me a little bit of time, and I will definitely be on. If somebody can step up, I would definitely love that.
Yeah. So this was the Spiritual Warrior show, guys. I hope that you did enjoy that, and thank you for the questions that we did have and everything. I hope that you're all okay. So yeah, Samuel got this show put into place. He thought it would be very interesting for you guys to watch and learn about. Yes, you are. What happens is that I'm on StreamYards and I've done it so that the company channel and my main YouTube channel are both doing the stream at the same time. So you're actually, in fact, sitting in on both streams. So that's why you're seeing all these different questions and areas like that. It's very true, Nada. Oh, thank you, Nada. That's very kind of you. Yeah, I thought I would give Samuel the platform today instead of us being up there with him all the time, because it is his show and it for him on a Saturday. So I stepped down. I was in the bottom basement bit and just talking to you guys in the room, putting his questions and stuff up and stuff like that. But I wanted to give him that opportunity to present this show on his own. For the first couple of times, I thought that it was good to have us up there with him. I'm going to be stopping this soon, but will tell you that there is meant to be a show going on with Tim from UFO Man at 2 o'clock on his channel. So that's UFO Man, guys. We have got a show at 7 p.m. USA and 12 a.m. UK tomorrow evening. That is with Pamela Nance, a very amazing lady and a professional in ufology and in archaeology and many other professions to do with the strange and the unknown. So this is going to be a really, really good evening tomorrow as well. And there's going to be lots of content and information and stuff that she's actually sent over to me to present in the show. So this should be a really excited one. And obviously myself and some of the management are going to be asking her questions and things like that. So we've got some really good stuff happening. Hang on a minute, I can hear somebody. I think Samuel is back. Let's bring him back
Yeah.
up. Oh, there we go. Where is he?
Thank you,
There he
Sherry.
is.
I appreciate that.
That's all right.
Well, I will say this much. There's been some very good questions and everything, and some good statements. I will say another thing that there are a lot of brilliant people that are watching this, and I'm very honored and I feel very well respected by every single one of you. Sherry, and yeah, yes, actually, we are at some different times in our life. They'll certain things are getting very thin in life, but like I said, it still does not neglect what we have in our life and what we don't have in our life. Whenever it comes to spiritual warriors, you have to answer a higher calling. And like I was saying, defending what you feel is right and what you feel is just. Even if nobody ever does agree with you, you have to do what is right for you and your family, no matter what the case is.
It was a very interesting topic and very good. And I do definitely feel that we should maybe do another take on this again and do it again and maybe have some people that maybe are spiritual warriors and people like that can come up and talk and, you know, work with us and make it even more interesting, because it's really good to sit and listen to what Samuel said and it was really interesting. But having Samuel and having other people come up with him as well, and then going into more details. So Samuel does his presentation, talks about bits, and then we could have some of the guys that are involved in this sort of thing to come up and talk about their experiences and what they've done and what they think spiritual warriors are and stuff like that. It'd be very interesting, I think.
Well, some of the people that I've read in the comments and everything, there's an over the top talent that I was reading in the audience and what they had to say and what they were thinking. I mean, like I said, they're very much brilliant people, and I wish I could meet with them.
Yeah, exactly. And it'd be really good to bring them up onto here as well, and to present the show with you. So especially if they are spiritual warriors and that they live that lifestyle. It'd be very interesting to hear from their point of view, I think.
Oh, yes, definitely. Um, and another thing I will say is that there's more than one kind of combat. There's
Mm.
more than one kind of combat that might happen. Um, uh, well, like I said, you could say people that guard other people, bodyguards. You could say that the bodyguards that guard these people, bodyguards that protect others. Say like people that go into, well, I guess you could say security guards. You could say a security guard could be somebody that is a spiritual warrior. So like if somebody's you could take like, how can I put this? I can never remember their names. They patrol what do you call it? Buckingham Palace. Those gentlemen with the hats and everything, they look amazing. They look like people, like I said, that are doing what they think is right and just for their country and their nation. You take people that guard religious figures, such as the Pope. So like the Pope, they are people that are geniuses in what they do, and they are not going to hesitate to give their life for something they feel is important. You take like the Secret Service in the United States. The Secret Service in the US are people that believe in their country, um, pr- uh, pr- ma- providing certain things for their families, such as food and water, keep them medicated if that's what it means, and everything. And
I
it's not.
don't know if they're called beef eaters, Jacqueline. I don't think the Queen's soldiers are called beef eaters, but I know what you mean because they do have on the beef eater sign them in the red jackets. I just call them the Queen's men because they're people that protect her castle and protect her. And there is a name for
Mhm.
them, but I can't remember what it's called.
Park rangers, I definitely hear where you're saying, Nader, and that's a legitimate point. Um, but like I said, then you have people that will fight. There are people out there that will fight, but they'll fight for no real apparent cause and everything. Probably, this is a generalized statement, very generalized, but it's true. Probably the biggest spiritual warrior, and it doesn't have to be just of humans, would have to be a mother. If you ever see what a mother bear will do to somebody to protect her young, that's a huge example. You take like an eagle, you can take like an eagle that is fighting to protect their young. That's a spiritual warrior. It's a higher cause, high purpose. Take like a pit bull who's protecting her puppies. That's a spiritual warrior. It goes beyond and above, and and I know that's generalized, but I know that's very generalized, but it's very true. Park rangers, yes, that's a good one. But like I
Green
said,
guards. Mm.
mothers, at least in my opinion, are the ultimate ones above and beyond anything else that are true spiritual warriors.
So yeah, there's a lot of topics on spiritual warriors, and it's very interesting. And if you are interested in joining our show again, I will obviously nearer to the time of doing this sort of show again. Um, I will inform people, and if you're interested in coming up and joining us and talking about your experiences and what you know about Spiritual Warriors Take Two, you're more than welcome to come. But just email us on pwird2021@gmail.com, or you can get hold of me on my Facebook under Sherry B. Brett or Willow Brett, and we can sort that out. And you can join Samuel on one of his future shows talking about this. But I think that we've been on an hour and a half. I think we'll cut off in a minute. But again, don't forget that Tim and Tommy will be live on UFO Man tonight in half an hour, just under half an hour. And we've got Pamela Nance tomorrow at 7 p.m. US time, guys. So please join us tomorrow. It's going to be very cool.
I am
But thank
looking,
you for coming
and
in.
and do not forget about Pamela. Oh my God, that's going to be amazing hearing from
Yeah,
her and
Pamela
what she
is
has to say.
absolutely awesome, and you're going to absolutely love her. So
I hope
please
so.
make sure that you come over and you let other people know she's very professional, and she's got a lot of profession. She's very good. So we hope that you've enjoyed tonight, guys. We hope that it's inspired you and it's got you thinking. And just remember to stay safe and stay real. And just remember that we will be back very soon. So from me, a big thank you, lots of love and light, and thank you for joining us. And would you like to say anything to your presenters, Samuel?
Well, I thank you too, Sherry. I
You're
appreciate the
very welcome.
question. I appreciate the questions that every single one of you had given me and the statements that you had given me. And also, like I said, also, you people are nothing more than great, in my opinion. And thank you for listening to me. And I guess that's where we'll be signing off. And like I
Hopefully,
said, thank you for everything, people.
yeah. Thank you, my darlings. Be safe, be real, and we'll see you real soon. Thank you for joining us, and good night. Blessed be. Night, night. Thank you. Remember, over to Tim for UFO Man and Pamela Nancy tomorrow, 7 p.m. USA time. Good night, guys. Love you, angels. Thank you for the support and the love. And email us if you're wanting to join. Thank you very much.